forms. There is a whole series of rites for what is called in Latin the degradation of a cleric who gravely sins against his office. And there's a rite for an archbishop, a bishop, a priest, all levels of clerics. And they're very, very impressive rites. And why do you think they were in the Roman Pontifical? Because there were clerics who gave way to Satan and betrayed their office by grave moral failings. And so we need to address the situation in the same way today.
Your Eminences, we have time for maybe one, maybe two more questions, but this one here I think is very, very interesting and also on the minds of many. Person writes here, given the second round of sexual abuse in the church, it seems that bringing back Pope Leo XIII's request of saying the prayer to Saint Michael the Archangel is a good idea. However, my priest says that Vatican II took this practice away because this practice, quote, took away from the Eucharist in the Mass. Saying the prayer before or after Mass seems that this would be a good thing to do. What would your response be to this issue?
I'm all in favor of restoring the Leonine prayers, and I don't see how in any way they detract from the Mass. In fact, when we've participated in the Holy Mass and communicated with the great holiness to which we are called because of our communion with Christ, because of our union with Him in His Eucharistic sacrifice, it's very natural for us to make these prayers at the end of the Mass for the Church, who is in grave difficulty. Pope Leo, the 13th, he had this vision of the tremendous evils assailing the Church, and that's when he asked for the prayer to Saint Michael the Archangel and wrote these prayers. And I think we ought to have the humility today to restore them. Surely all the grace to overcome the evils comes from the Holy Eucharist. We need to call upon the help, especially of St. Michael the Archangel, when we see that the devil is unleashed. He's really on a rampage. And we need to call upon the help of St. Michael the Archangel and pray also through the intercession of our Blessed Mother for the protection and the well-being of the Church.
Well, and Your Eminence, the prayer as initiated by Pope Leo XIII, first of all, was revealed to him in a revelation. So, and he asked because he saw the vision of the devil, and he said, this is what should be prayed. It was prayed at the end of Mass, so it wasn't part of the Mass. But I think it's kind of like with the Fatima apparitions. Our Lady came and appeared, and 100 years later, the Fatima apparitions are not talked about in many churches. Most people don't know. She said, pray the rosary. How many people in today's world don't? So these traditions that were needed back then when the times weren't as bad. I mean, who could have imagined where we are today? But yet, to not pray the prayer, I think it really shows the work of the devil to maneuver to get these prayers, these devotions not prayed at a time when we now need to pray them. And it's inspiring to see that in the United States, a number of bishops have called that they were going to start in all the parishes after Sunday Masses or all Masses, that they're going to reinstate that. And I think that's a blessing for our country.
I agree.
Well, that's all the time we have today. I thank you very much. It was very